Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In my previous lectures, I discussed the important points of the essay, The Rule of the Road by A.G. Gardiner. Today, let's try to understand the text of this essay. And it is unit 16th of your textbook. Now read this lesson which highlights how we sometimes misuse individual rights and create problems for people who live with us in society. A stout old lady was walking with her basket down the middle of a street in Petrograd to the great confusion of the traffic and with no small peril to herself. It was pointed out to her that the pavement was the place for foot passengers, but she replied, "I am going to walk where I like. We have got liberty now." It did not occur to the dear old lady that if liberty entitled the foot passengers to walk down the middle of the road, it also entitled the cab driver to drive on the pavement, and that the end of such liberty would be universal chaos. Everybody would be getting in everybody else's way and nobody would get anywhere. Individual liberty would have become social anarchy. Now let us try to understand this. Now in the opening lines of the essay, the author gives the example of a stout old lady. So the author gives the example of a stout old lady. Stout means fat, or we can say strong. The author gives the example of a stout old lady. And the lady was walking with her basket down the middle of a street in Petrograd. Petrograd is a city in Russia. Petrograd is a city in Russia. So she was walking with her basket down the middle of a street in Petrograd, that is a city in Russia. She caused great confusion in the flow of traffic. In addition to, she exposed herself to danger. Here the word used is peril. Peril means danger. It was pointed out to her that the pavement was the place for foot passengers, but she replied, "I am going to walk where I like. We have got liberty now." Now the lady was politely asked that foot passengers or pedestrians must walk on the pavements, or we can simply say footpaths. Pavement. A flat path at the side of a road to walk on, or simply we can say footpath. So she was asked that foot passengers or pedestrians must walk on the pavements or footpaths. But the lady gave an interesting answer. She replied that she was free to walk anywhere she liked because she had got liberty now. Now here in these two lines we have two contractions. One is I am. These are the contractions or short forms, and another is we have. It did not occur to the dear old lady that if liberty entitled the foot passengers to walk down the middle of the road, it also entitled the cab driver to drive on the pavement, and that the end of such liberty would be universal chaos. The lady did not realize that if liberty entitled means gave right to the lady or allowed her to walk down the middle of the road, it also entitled the cab driver. Cab driver means a person who drives a taxi. So it also entitled the cab driver or taxi driver to drive on the footpath. And what will be the result of such liberty? Such liberty will lead to universal chaos. Chaos means a state of complete disorder and confusion. So such type of liberty will lead to universal chaos, a state of complete disorder and confusion. If all the people demand such type of liberty, there will be universal chaos, means a state of complete disorder and confusion. Everybody would be getting in everybody else's way and nobody would get anywhere. Now, if everybody drove wherever and whenever they wanted, there would be utter confusion and nobody will be able to reach anywhere. Individual liberty would have become social anarchy. Actually, here the author wants to tell the readers that people must submit to rules and to some limits. Otherwise, this unlimited individual liberty, it will result in social anarchy. Social anarchy means social disorder. Social disorder. There is a danger of the world getting liberty drunk. In these days, like the old lady with the basket, and it is just as well to remind ourselves of what the rule of the road means. Now, if people are only concerned about their liberties, they are likely to get liberty drunk. That means they can misuse. They are likely to misuse liberty, like the old stout lady who chose to walk down the middle of the street, and she caused confusion in the flow of traffic. She exposed herself to danger. Now, the author defines the rule of the road, and it means in order that the liberties of all may be preserved, the liberties of everybody must be curtailed. In other words, we can say that each person must have some limits of his or her freedom in order to enjoy the freedom that comes from social order. And that is why the author says, in order that the liberties of all may be preserved, the liberties of everybody must be curtailed. Curtail means to impose restriction on. Or simply we can say to reduce or to limit. When the policeman, say at Piccadilly Circus, steps into the middle of the road and puts out his hand, he is a symbol not of tyranny but of liberty. Now, there is the example of a policeman at a busy junction, say at Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus is a very busy center in London where a number of roads meet. So when the policeman at a busy junction like Piccadilly Circus, he steps into the middle of the road and puts out his hand. For example, he stops a motor car. And we can say he stops a motor car. We can say he is not being cruel. He is a symbol of liberty. And he is not a symbol of tyranny, because the policeman helps in regulating the traffic so that there is smooth flow of the traffic. You may not think so. You may, being in a hurry and seeing your motor car stopped by this insolence of office, feel that your liberty has been violated. The word is insolence. Means rude and disrespectful behavior. Here is insolence of office means rude and disrespectful behavior of a person who holds a certain office. So, when a policeman stops your motor car, you may think, you may be in a hurry, you may be in haste, and you may say that the policeman may seem a nuisance to you. You may think that your liberty has been violated. Why he has stopped your car? How dare this fellow interfere with your free use of the public highway? Then, if you are a reasonable person, you will reflect that if he did not interfere with you, he would interfere with no one, and the result would be you would never cross Piccadilly Circus at all. Now, the policeman may seem like a nuisance. We may think that our liberty has been violated. But the author says, if you are a reasonable person, you may think, if the policeman does not check the violators of traffic rules, nobody would be able to cross this busy junction, Piccadilly Circus at all. You have submitted to a curtailment of private liberty in order that you may enjoy a social order that makes your liberty a reality. So we have to accept the curtailment of our private liberty so that we enjoy a social order which makes our liberty a reality. Thank you.